The United States' sanctions on North Korea prohibit its allies from having any economic or military dealings with North Korea. North Korea's energy, finance, textile, manufacturing, and maritime trade sectors are all affected by these sanctions. Any ship that has visited North Korea within the past 180 days is prohibited from entering the United States. After the collapse of the Soviet Union at the end of 1991, North Korea lost its biggest supporter and faced significant policy adjustments. After joining the United Nations in 1991, Kim Il-sung sent a secretary to the UN headquarters in New York in September to convey a message to President George Bush. He assured that as long as the U.S. guaranteed not to threaten North Korea's survival, he would no longer demand the withdrawal of U.S. troops from South Korea. This was a rare instance of North Korea actively seeking peace with the United States. If Bush had agreed, the two sides could have negotiated the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula, potentially allowing North Korea to gain normal state status and follow China's path of reform and opening up. However, Bush did not respond, remaining silent and attending to other matters. Believing that the U.S. was determined to overthrow their regime, Kim Jong-il accelerated the development of nuclear weapons for self-preservation. The collapse of the Soviet Union brought three things to North Korea: rapid nuclear development, a severe famine, and the Sungun military first policy. After the Soviet Union's dissolution, 900,000 people were removed from the nuclear industry, and 2,000 nuclear scientists and 5,000 technicians lost their jobs. Those who remained employed often went unpaid for long periods. North Korea offered these scientists a monthly salary of $3,000 and began bringing them to North Korea in 1992 to work on nuclear weapons. According to Russian Security Minister Viktor, in 1992, their department prevented 64 Russian nuclear experts from traveling to North Korea. On December 8, Russian special forces intercepted a plane headed for Pyongyang, which had 36 nuclear experts on board. North Korea's nuclear technology development, previously slow, advanced rapidly with the influx of former Soviet experts. In 1990, Pakistani metallurgist Abdul Qadir Khan established an underground nuclear smuggling network. Having worked at a European uranium enrichment company, Khan returned to Pakistan in 1975 to lead its nuclear weapons program. Needing funds, Khan began profiting from nuclear equipment and technology smuggling in 1987. North Korea sent people to learn from him, acquiring substantial nuclear technology around 1995, which significantly accelerated their nuclear weapons development. Today, North Korea is believed to possess approximately 20 nuclear bombs. As for North Korea's missile technology, it initially obtained Scud missiles from Egypt. They began copying these in 1984 and, with Soviet expert support, further developed their capabilities in 1992. By 1995, North Korea was collaborating with Pakistan and Iran on missile research. In 2012, North Korea became the 10th country capable of launching payloads into space, surprising many, though their technology remains less advanced. Previously, we discussed the Arduous March, a period during which a once prosperous small country became the world's most destitute nation in the 1990s. North Korea had relied on exporting fertilizers and textiles to Eastern Europe in exchange for oil and cotton. After the Soviet Union's collapse, this resource system fell apart, depriving North Korea of essential strategic resources. Power and industrial output plummeted, and the lack of oil led to agricultural machinery failure. At that time, 70% of North Korea's population lived in cities, with agriculture heavily reliant on machinery. North Korea needed 7.5 million tons of grain annually to sustain its industrial and agricultural sectors and 4.8 million tons to feed its 25 million people. Without mechanized farming, coal and fertilizer production dropped drastically. People turned to cutting down trees for heating and farming, causing soil erosion and flooding. From 1994 to 2004, North Korea's total grain production was only 4 million tons, with a dismal 2.1 million tons in 1996 and 2.5 million tons in 1997, resulting in approximately 400,000 deaths from starvation. This crisis gave rise to the Sungun policy. Sungun, an extension of the Juche ideology, was North Korea's way of consolidating power during the crisis, heavily favoring the military. Most countries are wary of professional soldiers influencing national stability. However, North Korea elevated the military's status to ensure its central role during turmoil. When Kim Jong-il formally took power in 1994, North Korea was already experiencing a severe famine, and he faced a massive crisis. To avoid being overthrown, Kim allocated more resources to the military and amended the constitution to elevate the military's status above the party, securing its loyalty during unstable times. From the outset, North Korea aimed to be politically and militarily self-reliant, but overlooked economic self-reliance. As previously mentioned, Kim Jong-un, having received a modern education, desires prosperity for North Koreans. However, he cannot open up North Korea due to the constraints of Juche and Sungun ideologies. Representing Juche himself, abandoning these ideologies would mean giving up the nuclear arsenal painstakingly developed over half a century, and risking his regime's stability. Therefore, Kim Jong-un must continue to prioritize the military's interests. In the fall of 2012, his first clash with Jang Song-thaek occurred when he discovered malnutrition among soldiers during a military inspection. Jang controlled the industries of seafood, foreign trade, and coal, which originally belonged to the military. Kim Jong-un demanded these industries be returned to ensure the military's sustenance. Jang Song-thaek refused Kim Jong-un's demand to return industries to the military, leading to intensified conflict between the two. Currently, the North Korean military still engages in commercial activities and owns its own trade, mining, and seafood companies to ensure the economic benefits of soldiers. North Korean leaders often state that no matter how difficult the national finances are, defense spending must be prioritized. This preferential treatment makes military service attractive. From 2002 to 2012, North Korea's annual military expenditure accounted for 25% of its GDP, while other countries typically spend 1% to 5%. Kim Jong-un faces many historical challenges. In 2019, he removed the Sungun, military first, policy from the constitution but retained the Juche ideology, declaring that all national efforts would focus on economic development. Balancing Juche ideology and economic development is a significant challenge. While further opening up to China and Russia could promote North Korea's economy, UN sanctions make this difficult. These sanctions prohibit any economic or military transactions with North Korea, affecting energy, finance, textiles, manufacturing, and maritime trade. Ships that have visited North Korea within the past 180 days are barred from entering the United States, and technology, talent, and goods from other parts of the world are also prohibited from entering North Korea. North Korea's coal, iron ore, gold, and seafood cannot be sold, and the machinery, vehicles, electrical equipment, ships, and oil they desperately need cannot be bought. Even if they could be purchased, they would be of little use because there would be no way to maintain them in the long term. Their financial system is completely locked down. North Korean banks cannot open branches abroad, and even diplomats only have one bank account. Their real estate can only be rented out, not sold, making it impossible to obtain foreign exchange. Many UN resolutions report on the implementation of sanctions against North Korea every few months. Many large Chinese companies want to invest in North Korea, but before investing, you need to ask yourself a question: are you willing to give up the global market of billions of people for the market of 25 million North Koreans? Can you really afford that? Therefore, North Korea cannot announce reform and opening up like China did in 1978. North Korea uses various means to earn foreign exchange, such as sending workers to other countries to mine, build houses, sell minerals, train hackers, and mine Bitcoin. In short, North Korea cannot abandon Jewish ideology, as it would mean abandoning its leadership. With Jewish ideology, North Korea aims to achieve self-reliance, independence, and self-defense, necessitating nuclear weapons. This pursuit brings global sanctions led by the United States, which in turn drives North Korea to further develop nuclear weapons to force the U.S. into negotiations to open markets, creating an unsolvable vicious cycle. What could break this cycle? The entire East Asia region appears not to be very harmonious. There are frequent collaborations and conflicts between North Korea and South Korea, China and Japan and South Korea. But the underlying relationship is the one between China and the United States, influencing other countries' interactions. Even though it's within East Asia, U.S. military deployments are still strong. However, it is foreseeable that China will expel U.S. influence from East Asia within the next decade, restoring the traditional order of the past few thousand years with China at the center, and a political pattern of cooperation among countries like the Korean Peninsula, Japan, Vietnam, and Myanmar. Once U.S. forces leave East Asia, North Korea will have a safe environment for reform and opening up. It's like a misbehaving child who can only change his ways under family guidance, not through external threats and criticism. The first step for China to drive out U.S. influence is to persuade Taiwan, as Taiwan is the core of all East Asian political issues. Not only the North Korean issue but also the development of China, Yunnan Province, Myanmar, Laos, and other countries is affected by the Taiwan issue. The North Korean problem is a relic of the Cold War, which has now become a confrontation between the U.S. and China. North Korea is stuck in a historical corridor, unable to move forward or retreat. It can only patiently wait for external changes, as it lacks the ability to solve these issues independently. For North Korea to develop its economy normally, it can only wait for China to expel the U.S. from East Asia, with the unification of Taiwan being the symbolic event of this expulsion. In July 1968, Kim Jong-il met the beautiful and charming Cheng Huilin, the sister-in-law of his classmate, on Mount Pitu. 11 years later, Cheng Huilin went to the Soviet Union. 49 years later, her son with Kim Jong-il was assassinated at the airport in Malaysia. North Korea's series of internal tragedies are the results of geopolitical and historical entanglements. Ordinary North Koreans still live in extreme poverty, yearning for a modern life. The key to unlocking this historical issue lies in the depths of the Taiwan Strait, 1,900 kilometers away.